Hi everyone, it's Joan Burkhart not sharing her screen because she does not feel she is camera ready. I still wanted to come and say hello to you and help you kick off your week 5. Finishing up week 4 right now, I asked you to dip your toe in the pond of scholarly research toward your annotated bibliography, your second signature assignment. I asked you to choose a PIT, a problem, issue, or hot topic in the field of controversy, something that you're interested in that is very current and preferably related to your professional practice. And I asked you to locate one scholarly and one non-scholarly source. Now, at that time, I didn't ask you to annotate anything, but I did ask you to hold it to task using the evaluation criteria in the CRAP test. And so hopefully that was enlightening to you in that there is so much source material out there of all different types, but it can be so difficult to know what's crap and what's not, right? So I think this is a really good exercise to kind of really see the type of rigor and the level of academic research that you're looking for, especially at this level. And I hope you do share this test with your students if you're teaching or with your colleagues, because it can be really, really helpful in identifying good, strong, trustworthy sources from not. I can't tell you how many times I've been surprised once I find a source I like, and once I really take it to task, how shocked I am to see that it's not as good or trustworthy or as rigorous as I thought it was at first glance. So paying extra attention is very, very important. One weak source can really just unravel an entire strong argument that you're trying to build, and that's not something we want to happen. So essentially this week, in week 5, we are kind of building more of the same, where we're applying research skills at the graduate level, APA 7th. You're going to continue critically evaluating source material and assessing it for the specific purpose of working on an annotated bibliography of sources for a PIT of your choice. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is look at these 4 interactive tutorials. I worked with Lindley Hummel again to come up with these, and she is just phenomenal. They're short, but I think they'll be really helpful in that they target specific skills or specific tasks that you're going to be doing during this 3-week module. So this week, you'll again be exploring current PITs in the field, and it can be the same PIT you looked at last week in week 4, or you can choose a new one this week. The key is that the PIT you choose this week in week 5 is going to be the one you marry this week and next week. It'll be the one that you're focusing on for your second signature assignment, the annotated bibliography. If you feel like you really liked that PIT you looked at last week and you want to continue building on that, that's great. I encourage you to do that. But if not, you can choose something else. But whatever you choose now is what you're going to have to stick with for the next assignment. So one thing I want you to think about too is how your interests are connecting or not connecting to your education narrative. As I said last week in my instructor video, very often students are surprised when they start thinking about their own education narrative and their own history and how they arrived at their beliefs and their perspective. They start realizing that the things that they're interested in, the topics and controversies and issues they're interested in, really were born from their past experiences with education in their family, their socioeconomic status. All of that sort of gives rise to your interests today. So give that a little bit of thought, how your interests are connecting to your past, to your narrative. So you'll be identifying that one PIT, and this week in earnest, you will start locating and evaluating source material of 6 specific types that I've identified for you. Before we get into that, I want to point out a couple of resources that you're going to want to review. This first source is How to Write an Annotated Bibliography. That's going to be important for obvious reasons. I've provided an annotated bibliography template. This is something that I built, and again, as I mentioned last week, to kind of take the guesswork out of it. I already formatted it in APA 7th. I encourage you to save a copy of this on your computer as a template so you can just use it moving forward for any written assignments that you do because it's already set up in APA 7th. I shared 2 exemplars with you from students that I think did a really good job. 2 caveats to that. Their annotated bibliographies are formatted in APA 6th. We are now using APA 7. That is okay. There are minor differences. For example, in APA 6, they had to have a running head. You don't have to have that anymore. little things like that. So there are really no major changes that are going to impact you, but I did want to point that out if you notice that there are some. The other issue with this, not an issue, but thing I want to point out is that these annotated bibliographies only include peer-reviewed journals, peer-reviewed research articles or research articles only. Since the time these were submitted, I have changed it and so that you are looking for 6 different source types. I like that idea better because it teaches you not only how to format different types of sources, but it also shows you that you shouldn't just be relying on one type of source. In fact, peer-reviewed journal articles are great because they're 9 times out of 10, they're going to be rigorous and trustworthy. But at the same time, by the time they get into our hands, they're typically old because it can take so long for articles to go through the peer review process that by the time they get published, it can be up to a year. I personally have submitted articles to journals for peer review, and from the date I submitted it until the time it was published, it was almost a year. So at that point, we have already graduated onto so much more current research. So that's why I have you looking at other types of source material, popular news sources, things like that, that are coming out on the daily. So they are definitely fresh and definitely newer. And so to that end, I'm talking here about the annotation method being used when viewing and listening to other sources. A lot of times folks think that you can really only annotate something that's written, and that's not the case. You can apply the annotation method to absolutely any type of source. And I kind of have some questions here to help you. If you're looking at a video, for example, one of the 2 that I provided above, what is it about? Who's featured? What's the primary concern? And it's kind of a similar way to look at a video or another type of source, similar to a written type source, but a little bit different. It asks about relevance, what kind of expertise the presenter has, etc. And it's basically you thinking about, is this presenter credible? And that's key. Do they know what they're talking about, essentially? Michelle Rhee, here's a hint, she definitely knows what she's talking about. I think anyway, whether you agree or not is another thing, but she has credibility. So moving on to this final section here for your the week 5 assignment and discussion. So basically what you'll be doing again is choosing a PIT that you'll be doing your annotated bibliography on. I recommend looking back at the CRAP test, again, pulling that out, print it out if you want to, and have it next to you because you'll be using that to evaluate your sources for this week. And then what you'll be doing by Thursday is just a brief description of your PIT, why you chose it, how it relates or doesn't relate to your professional practice, because preferably it will. That way, the research that you're doing might be immediately useful to you in your everyday work life. So the brief description of your overall PIT. So you'll be finding one source for each of these source types: a peer-reviewed journal article, popular news source, book or book chapter, conference proceeding or conference presentation, a dissertation, and a video of any type, right? I'm very flexible on these. If you really struggle, for example, to find a dissertation or find something like that that's related to your PIT, I ask you to think, well, am I too focused, right? Sometimes you get so focused on it being directly related that you forget that it can relate to one dimension of your PIT and it need not speak to all of it. So kind of think maybe a little bit more broadly. But what you'll do is you'll provide a reference in APA 7th for all 6 of these sources. And I really want to stress attention to detail. Pay attention to the punctuation, what's capitalized, what's not, what's italicized, what's not, where there are spaces, where there are not, periods, commas, everything like that is incredibly important. And character for character, I ask you to use the Houghton and Houghton Guide to model your work after their source entries. They have perfect models there. There is no need for you to reinvent the wheel. That is something you should be relying on, okay? And then at the end of each reference, you will have a hyperlink to each source. You need not have anything that says retrieved from or the date it was retrieved or anything like that. Just a hyperlink, a live link, that's fine. You do not have to fully annotate all 6 of them at this time, but you will have a full annotation for one of them. You can choose any one of these 6, and I want you to do a full annotation using the how-to guide and after checking out the exemplars to really help you, right? And that is so we can make sure that you really understand what it means to do a good annotation, to demonstrate that you have really analyzed and assessed the rigor and the utility and the trustworthiness of this source. So it could be any one of the six. And then I want you to share any questions you have or any struggles that you're having so that we can help each other. I mean, we are a real community of learning here. We have so much expertise and wisdom in this group already, but we can help each other. I can help you. Whatever you're struggling with, let us help each other improve our work. And then once you share that, simply by Sunday, pretty straightforward, you're just checking out a couple of your classmates' posts and giving them tips, right? Anything, look at edits, efficiency strategies, anything that you think could be helpful, and definitely if for their question or their struggle, please address that, right? You want to help each other be more confident and feel more empowered moving into this assignment due in week 3. I want to thank you very much for stopping by to listen to me again this week. And if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out to me either via email or in the general Q&A discussion forum, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks. Take care.